on CityCast Nashville. A new Tennessee rule that was scheduled to go into effect today has some hemp retailers worried they may have to shut down or relocate their businesses, as certain products may no longer be legal to sell here. Earlier this year, Grace Few spoke with Matthew McClure, owner of Cannabis, a mobile dispensary you might have seen driving around town. He gave us a look at what was legal in Tennessee before the proposed rule and shares his insight into the multi-million-dollar industry it will impact in the new year. It's Thursday, December 26th. I'm Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about.
So I want to first off put ourselves in the shoes of somebody who maybe moved here from LA or somewhere where weed is legal. Mm-hmm. They're walking around 5 Points. They see a little truck, perhaps, that maybe says that it's selling cannabis. What exactly is regulated in Nashville, in Tennessee, and how is it regulated?
So we can smoke every cannabinoid except for the one we want.
What are we seeing in these shops like Cannabis or anything that we see around town?
So, technically, and this is kind of what I tell people behind the counter here is cannabis is legal in the entire country because of the Farm Bill, in 2018. It's all about like what percentages of what can be ingested or inhaled or all this and that. And so we kind of fall under that federal Farm Bill of 2018. Mm-hmm. And we're like, 7 years after that. So we've come a long way in discovering some ways to get the effects that we're looking for in like a more natural way than what we were originally having to do, and that's kind of what has given a rise to all this like misunderstanding of like cannabinoids and synthetic and semi-synthetic. And I mean, with good reason, because, you can kind of mess up a little bit here because we can consume all the cannabinoids except for the one we really want, right? Like we can do everything else. We can ingest every one of the cannabinoids except for THC, right? Delta-9 THC. Now we're allowed to eat and drink that because Delta-9 THC, when isolated, is a hemp-derived cannabinoid. So if you're looking for edibles and drinks, you're looking for Delta-9 THC, and that is as effective and the same, as what you would expect from, like you were saying, a legal state. The inhalables is where it gets a little like muddy because, you can vape and smoke every one of them, THCP, THCV, HHC, they got HHCA out now, all these different cannabinoids that are present in cannabis. Delta-8, was the big first one that popped out and got everyone like, we were like, oh, it's what we're looking for, but it's not really. It's, you get Delta-8 in full spectrum cannabis, but like small amounts. Most of these are in very small amounts and you're hyper concentrating it, putting it into a pen. I don't really sell those on here on the bus specifically. We stick to Delta-9 edibles and drinks and THCA smokables and inhalables, vapes, flower, that kind of thing.
So what actually is Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10, and what is the difference? Because I see all of those things around.
Yeah, Delta-8 was like the first one to pop up, be super big, because it's the easiest and first kind of chemical isolate that pops up when you're trying to make certain things, vapes, or, concentrate it into an oil. And you get Delta-8, Delta-9, and Delta-10. Delta-9 is the main active cannabinoid, right? Those are just other full spectrum. They're right next to each other kind of in the chemical process, right?
So with the spectrum, just because I think people are going to be so confused by all of this, because I know it's confusing. When you talk about the spectrum, we're talking about any strain has like a different amount of Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10. Is that what you're saying?
I think it strains as like a dog breed.
Yeah. So different breeds of flower, you have different amounts of Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10. What is a delta? Like, what is that referring to?
The actual chemical structure of it. Delta-9 THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, is what is getting you elevated when you smoke cannabis at all, period. Like, by far. I don't know.
Like the psychoactive effect.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Delta-8 doesn't have a psychoactive effect, which is why it's not as potent, and your body maybe kind of get used to it. Since it's not as potent, they feel like they need to put a bunch of it in an edible. And I mean, I don't think you should eat 300 milligrams of anything. That's where it gets dangerous, because it's not what you're looking for, but it kind of is, and it's not regulated. So we can literally put as much of it in something as we want to. And even with all these new rules coming out, it still makes all that stuff still legal. And the good natural things that we actually are wanting, THCA, it's not synthetic. It's not put in a lab. I don't consume anything other than Delta-9 and THCA. That's really it. Because THCA is the acetate version of THC. Basically, it's the early form of THC. All THC is THCA first. And then that A, the acetate.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
It's like the acid. It's like one more little molecule on there that decarboxylates, right? That, which means it burns away. Decarboxylation was my weed word Wednesday, last Wednesday. Yeah, because we were having to discuss the TBIs wanted to take that away from us. They're wanting to test all cannabis post decarboxylation, which that makes all flower in our state illegal because even CBD has some THCA in it that when you light it on fire, that A, the acetate burns away.
What is CBD?
CBD would be like, that's the more like anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety. It's non-psychoactive whatsoever. Okay. It actually doesn't give you any kind of elevating effect as far as like one would consider mood altering, you know, and that was the first thing to come up on the market was, you know, oh, CBD flower. Wow. You know, and some CBD flower had a decent amount of THCA in it. And so when you would light it on fire, some people might, especially like not very avid consumers, they might experience, I guess you could call it a head change. People call a head change when you feel kind of high, elevated. Wow, okay.
You might feel a little something.
A little, right. They might feel a little something in the CBD if it just happens to be a strain that's really high in THCA. That's when Delta-8 kind of showed up because that was the easiest first one to pop up when you're doing like a chemical process and trying to isolate it, right? Because that's what they're doing. They say it's synthetic. It's not synthetic. They're not making it in a lab. They're concentrating it. But I mean, that's, you know, if you're making a vape, that's what you're doing. But that's all we had. You know, until it was like, if you know, THCA kind of slowly was rumbling in the really nice shops around town. He was like, oh, THCA. Now here we are. And, you know, that's all any of us consume at this point. People ask me, where's your head stash? What do you smoke? I'm like, dude, you're looking at it. I trust it. You know, I know the strains. I know where it's coming from. I could probably tell you the middle name of some of the guys that packed these pre-rolls even. That's how close all of this is, you know, and we're staying very local. Even though we can't grow THCA here in the state, which is kind of unfortunate.
So you bring it in from elsewhere, but it's legal to bring it in.
That's correct.
Okay.
You know, and that's where it's,
got it.
You know, kind of choking out the farmers because we have a wonderful, like, I mean, we're an agricultural state, you know. If we could just grow it here, all prices would drop down, all education would become like much more prevalent. It wouldn't feel so far away, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like the Farm Bill in 2018 had foresight because what it did effectively is it gave passionate people a chance to be in the industry where they lived. And that is the important part is, you know, people who are passionate about the plant didn't have to go to these other states. They could figure it out right here. And here we are 7-8 years later. And we've got a great, I mean, arguably one of the best cannabis markets in the world, in my opinion. I mean, cannabis has more freedom in Tennessee than it does anywhere else. When you consider that Delta-9 and THCA, you know, is what you're looking for as far as effect wise, which is, you know, I have a little rule. I don't hit random pens from federally legal states. You know, someone's like, oh, try this pen. I got it. I need to see the box. I want to know the blend that's in it. You know, is it THCP, THCO, V, HHC, HHCA, and then it's saying it's THCA. It's confusing to the consumer. It's really unfortunate that it is this way, but
it's really confusing.
But, you know, and it's even more confusing though to the lawmakers because that's why we're here at this point is they don't understand what they're trying to make legal and make illegal. I mean, this new rule testing all flower post decarboxylation effectively takes all flower off the market completely. And that's not good at all. And it's already been proven in several different states' court of law that THCA is here to stay. So I don't know why they're trying to do this. We have to litigate this messiness, then that's what we're going to have to do. Like I was saying earlier, the cannabis has more freedom in Tennessee than it effectively does in the entire world because we have on-site consumption. Our beer laws are really laxed. You know, we have places where you can drink a beer, smoke a pre-roll, and hit a dab in the same location. You can't do that in Amsterdam. You literally can't do that anywhere else. And that's what is crazy about what is, and it has attracted all of these, you know, tycoons that have realized, oh my gosh, what are we able to do here? There are huge companies that have been in Colorado, in California, in New York, that have moved their entire production operations to Tennessee because they're seeing what is happening with our market. And it's kind of fun, really, because effectively we've learned so much more about the plant full spectrum because we had to. We had no choice.
what is synthetic weed? Because I know at least a couple years ago, there was a lot of hustle and bustle around what exactly that is. And, you know, I just genuinely don't know. What is synthetic weed?
That's an interesting question because I'm not even sure what it's trying to get at. Part of me thinks they're asking about like the K2, the spice stuff, which wasn't weed at all. It was sold as incense.
What was that?
It was sold as, I have no idea, literally. It was a psyop, if you will, came through as quickly as it left. You know, it was almost designed to get people high that couldn't get high because they were on papers, which would be like, you know, military or people that are on probation or whatnot, you know, and that's kind of how it got shut down is, you know, these military bases were noticing that after they would dismiss their soldiers, there'd be a line of soldiers outside the Habib smoke shop down the street.
Oh,
like, what is going on? And then they go in there and like, oh, they're buying this spice stuff. They're rolling it in a blunt wrap and smoking it. And it's not cannabis at all. And, you know, once they would shut one of them down, they would just alter a chemical in it and re-release it, you know, and it would be a whole new strain, a whole new thing. And it was like a hydra with multiple heads.
But the rest of the stuff, the Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, THCA situation, that's all real cannabis.
Cannabinoids, you know? Yeah. And so Delta 8 gets this like synthetic rap of, because people think it's because it's made in a lab, but it's not made in a lab. It's concentrated in a lab, sure. Yeah. You know, but it's not like witches brewed and here's Delta 8. You know, Delta 8 THC is present in the plant, very much so, you know, depending on the strain. It's just, since we were able to smoke that, we can't smoke Delta 9 THC. Effectively, that's what's illegal federally is smoking Delta 9 THC. Because we're allowed to eat and drink it. You know, it's just that.
So why are we allowed to eat and drink it?
Because Delta 9 is also a hemp-derived cannabinoid. So when you take it from the plant, add it to something, they're okay with that. They think, I guess. What they don't realize is we can make a drink. With that ruling, we could make a drink that could make you high right now and still high in like 4 days. But no one's going to do that because no one's going to consume that product, right? You know, we're all trying to, you know, feed our families and stuff with this. So we got to be smart as far as like, what does the consumer want? And that is honestly one of the biggest hurdles is because we know what we're talking about. We're in this every day. We wake up and think about this every single day, you know, and the rules that they are making effectively shut us down or make us have to redo some things and makes it more dangerous if they change it because they're just going to push people back to the streets. Because I'll tell you, the only people that are happy about these new rules are the street dealers.
In terms of the things that are legal, if somebody were to like smell a marijuana-ish smell coming from your house and a cop shows up at your door or whatever, is it an argument to say this is the legal Delta 9, Delta 10? Like, what is the...
Everything smells the same because it is the same.
Yeah, but is it like a good argument to say this isn't THC, or what do you say in that circumstance if you're smoking something that you legally purchased?
Well, it's always wise to keep your package from where you got it legally. If you're in Davidson County, you're probably pretty good. They probably won't even mess with you, honestly, unless you're driving, which you shouldn't be smoking and driving anyways. It's basically decriminalized in Davidson County anyways, and that's because they know the truth that they can act like they can do this on-site testing or. Man, there was this court case that happened in Rutherford County in Murfreesboro that I was made aware of. The sheriff swore up and down that his dog could smell the difference. Bruh. Yeah, no.
Yeah. The Tennessee Supreme Court just ruled that drug dogs can still be trusted. Like they just smell what they smell.
They still have probable cause to search your vehicle if even the cop smells it. I actually was pulled over in the bus the other day for the first time ever.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been pulled over.
I mean, I'm sure you have branding on the back, don't you?
Oh man, I'm driving around. It says cannabis. You know, well, I think they avoid me a little bit because they're like, he probably has his stuff together, and they would be right. I mean, I'm driving around like a giant billboard, you know, and it's like I have everything
it would
ready.
Be crazy of you to
come on, guys, come on, and that's it makes me laugh. I see people on the street. They're like, "So you don't sell the real stuff?" I'm like, brother. Why would I even? This is insane. Why are we having this conversation right now?
Why would I sell something illegal and then advertise it?
Let's stop. Let's stop and think about this for 1 second here, guys. We're trying to.
That's stupid.
We're trying to pay bills here. Everything I sell here, I could ship to anywhere in the state except Idaho, because Idaho explicitly says no THCA.
So if you were to be drug tested, how would the drug test show up? Would it show up the same as if you smoked regular weed?
We're smoking regular, it's THC, as far as that goes. Like there's nothing different about it. You're going to pop hot. I mean, even CBD, again, like high CBD, like unless you're taking, for instance, gummies that specifically say THC free on them, and they make those. Alchemy Natural makes some really great CBD gummies that are THC free. Now, you don't want to necessarily take those if you don't have to, because THC is kind of like the catalyst to every other cannabinoid. So you at least need a little bit of it to make all these other cannabinoids work effectively.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. It's like an entourage effect, so, and that's where you get kind of like some of the older generation, like, oh, it's just snake oil. It don't actually work. Well, your receptors aren't working. You've never used the plant before. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. So, especially for like the oils and such, you need to, if you've never consumed really, you need to stay on a regimen. So your body eventually it's kind of like your receptors are kind of like muscles in a little bit. If you don't use them, like you lose them. And if you've never used them, you need to like kickstart them. And honestly, the best way to kickstart them, Granny, is to just take a couple hits of your CBD pre-roll. You don't have to Cheech and Chong the whole thing. But if you were to like puff it a couple times, you would really activate those receptors. I run into that all the time, and I love those guys and ladies. It's usually the ladies. Because they're like, I tried it, their granddaughter finally convinced them to try it and it don't work.
Yeah.
Or they bought some really non-potent stuff from, Kroger's got brands now that they don't go to those places. Go to, a cannabis forward store. That's where you want to go.
Yeah. So we have a lot of those cannabis forward stores opening up in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's fair to say that these cannabis companies in Nashville are misleading to folks that are coming from out of state?
I don't think it's misleading at all. And the proof for that is the multitude of diverse IDs that we get from legal states, right? And we could ask any one of them that, especially like, come into Perfect Plant or something, that, they'll be the first one to be like, I'm so glad I found this because this is what I'm looking for. I would say you'd be misleading to go to a store, one of these smoke shops that still has a neon sign that says Delta 8 on it. Yeah, that'd be pretty misleading. Don't go into that store. They're not consumers, so they don't care about what they're selling you. They're getting it from a mass distributor around here somewhere. It's not good. And it's given us cannabis forward brands a really bad name. We're really trying to make a change, and it's definitely being felt as far as brands coming here, places wanting to be a part of the Nashville scene. I mean, our cannabis industry is blowing up. We have billboards, we have consumption lounges. I felt comfortable enough to run the cannabis,
Right. You're comfortable driving something that says cannabis on it.
Yeah, man. Well, because it's the plant, at the end of the day, marijuana is what is illegal, and that's the government given name for it, right? So that's what the TBI was kind of arguing over what is back and forth, but they still are making laws about stuff that they don't understand fully. If they want to test, like I said, if they want to test the flower post decarboxylation, that makes CBD flower that, Granny likes to smoke a little bit. That makes that illegal too. That makes the veterans that can't get elevated but like to smoke CBD for their pain and stuff, because again, inhalables are immediately effective, right? You don't have to wait for things. It's relief right now. Even though I get the derogatory connotation of smoking anything. And I think that's what we're battling the most of in normalcy of use of this plant.
Can you tell me what the cannabis actually is and where we find it?
Cannabis, it's a mobile dispensary and lounge. It came where like a passion and a ability and a idea all came together and was like, oh my God, the cannabis. I have to do this now.
It's a great name.
It struck me like a bolt of lightning. I had to sit down. And honestly, once I made everything, was doing the thing, I was like, I wonder if there's some other ones. And there are. There's nothing like this where it's like a dispensary lounge inside the bus. And honestly, that's my favorite part about it at all is, and I didn't want to retrofit it out and make it a livable machine. I wanted it to stay feeling like a school bus. And because of that, it effectively makes everyone that steps in here, we're all in the fifth grade again together at the same time, no matter how old we are, which like to me, fifth grade was like before, judgment, friends with everyone, basically is what and so that's kind of what happens back here on these little bean bags is we get like a group of people that are so different from each other. They wouldn't be at Walmart at the same time together. But here they are sharing a Benny blend or a pre-roll or, they're talking about freestyling happens a lot on the bus. Doesn't matter who it is. It is, dude. It is.
Freestyling.
Yeah, definitely. People like to freestyle on the cannabis. And it's not even the same group of people. It's literally, to the point where I have playlists on Spotify. I have the Cannabis 2, the Electric Boogaloo, and that's like this ever-growing playlist that we play a lot of the times. That's got a lot of instrumental, cool, like jammers in there that people start to flow over, and I'm like, oh man, I need to make another playlist. So I'm creating a Cannabis freestyle playlist. So it's a mobile bar and lounge. Beanie OG has a rooftop deck, so if there's like trees and stuff above me, it flips out. We can actually hang out on the roof. It's about to be cannabis weather too. As soon as
that's sick.
The real fall comes in.
Yeah. So how do we find you? Is it on Instagram or something where you're at?
That is the easiest way because I can post where I'm at on the stories. So it's Benny the Cannabis on Instagram. I do have some worked out bus stops that we're calling them. Again, I'm just leaning into the whole bus culture, right? And these are like,
love it.
Yeah, these are like bars and restaurants that we've partnered with that, like a weekly thing. Like for instance, on Tuesdays, we're in Donaldson at Fat Bites Deli. Really cool deli. It's been there forever. I mean,
sweet.
Great sandwiches, great prices. They have live music and stuff. And on Tuesdays, we're there from 6 to midnight for Token Taco Tuesdays, where she makes 3 random tacos every week. Thursdays, I tend to be over like at Golden Pony in East Nashville in their parking lot from like 9 to 1. That's a good place. But we're actively searching for some more partnerships, some more bus stops. Deep Tropics was a couple weekends ago, and it was at the Bicentennial Mall, and we're on the mall with the bus. It's amazing.
Crazy.
I'm still reeling over that. Being a Nashville native, and I'm just like standing there in the Capitol. The Capitol's there, and
there's
Benny's over here, and I'm just like, wow.
And here's the cannabis.
No, we're here.
Wow.
I'll never look at that park the same again. I mean, big ups to just Nashville in general for letting us rave on the Capitol for a couple hours, man. That's huge. That's huge.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll be stopping by to say hi.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me. I hope we covered everything. We can have like a response thing. If you got some viewers that have like more questions, they want to reach out to me directly. I mean, it's me. Effectively, I'm Benny. Effectively, Benny is alive, and I'm keeping him alive, as well as with the support from you guys.
You're the keeper of Benny. I mean, totally fair. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for this so much. It means a lot.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. Be sure to give Matthew a wave if you see the cannabis driving by. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!